Ice skating was so difficult to animate. Anything contacting the ground is always a really big deal. I'm Cody Lyon, I'm an animator at Pixar, and this is Animation Motivation. I was born in a town called Silt, Colorado. I grew up there my whole life. We're named after dirt. It's a very small town in western Colorado, so the big stuff to do out there is like skiing, mountain biking, riding dirt bikes, like spending time outside. And I also just loved art. I loved movies and cartoons and drawing, and kind of a combination of those two things is what I loved doing. I was always a fan of animation growing up. There's very few moments in my life where it's like, the path forward is so clear, and it was obvious. It's like, I want to work at Pixar. I want to be an animator. And I remember like waiting in line for the opening of Incredibles in our local theater, and I still actually have the poster from the local movie theater that they let my dad buy from them, and that's in my office. And my parents were so supportive. They were fine with me going to art school. I was a pretty like motivated kid. It wasn't really like I kind of have a plan and we'll see what happens. I was motivated enough. I made films in high school and tried to teach myself animation there, so they were very much supportive. I thought being an animator was something different than when I got here. You see the behind the scenes footage sometimes of the older movies, and everybody's like goofing off and kind of making a movie on the side. When I started working here, it's like, ooh, this is a place full of professionals who are really passionate about movie making. And animators specifically are all about character performance, the thought process of the characters and what they're thinking at the time, how they're feeling, how they might react. It's like surprisingly very in-depth discussions about the psychology of these characters going through these actions. So I think being an animator is about stepping in the shoes of somebody else and really trying to empathize with how they might feel in that moment. My favorite types of shots to animate are actually physicality. Body mechanics, characters moving around quite a lot, doing backflips or picking each other up. It's something about the motion of human bodies and getting weight and interesting timing out of it is really exciting to me. Any shot that looks really complicated, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. That's what I like to do. Like my first film was Coco, so like the thing that stands out from that one is I got to animate the Frida Kahlo dancers in the background, like climbing the papaya and the cactus. A technical shot with a lot of characters, but that was kind of my first big break, so that was really fun. Incredibles 2, I got to do Frozone, like catching the subway as it comes off of the rails. So that was again really hard. Toy Story 4, I animated the after credit sequence of Ducky and Bunny kind of growing super large with laser vision and fire breath, and that shot was super intense. I got to work on the beginning hockey game in Inside Out 2 of Riley, our kind of reintroduction to Riley and the emotions and her assisting this goal that happens in the game. It's one of my favorites because of kind of the journey the shot went on. It went through quite a lot of iterations. It was kind of given to me as like, we haven't totally figured this out yet, which are like my favorite words to hear when I get an assignment. The original idea was that Riley does kind of a drop pass to Grace. I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. I found a bunch of hockey clips and hockey reference. And a drop pass is kind of when you're skate along, and instead of shooting the puck to someone and passing it, you just kind of leave the puck where it is and skate off, and then the person behind you picks it up. So it takes a lot of communication with your teammates, and that was the idea that they're working really closely together. But when it was kind of set up, it just wasn't quite exciting enough. It was supposed to be the culmination of this big game, of this big moment. So initially, Riley's drop pass was between her legs, and then she skated off and the person behind her shot it. But it didn't make a ton of sense, because why wouldn't Riley just shoot? She's right there on the goal, like why give it to somebody else? There's all this information you're trying to get across. Riley is like really skilled in playing hockey, but not at like an NHL level, like she's still 13 years old. Riley is selfless, like she's not scoring the goal herself. The play is called Thread the Needle, and Riley shouts to her friends before it happens, she says, "Thread the needle!"
Thread the needle! Yes!
Which actually was quite the constraint, because whatever I figured out kind of had to make sense that they called it Thread the Needle. I did a pass on the shot, what we call like layout plus. So instead of really animating something and making it really nice, we do a really rough version, kind of treating the characters like chess pieces. We're just sliding around, like playing with action figures just to figure things out. So it's like, okay, we need to add a defender in there. So I added a defender. And then I talked to one of our resident hockey experts in animation, Tom Zach. He's like, oh, the defender should try to like kind of swipe for it and go for it, and that forces Riley to pass it. So I tried all these versions and talked it through and ended up with like the thread the needle is that Riley grabs the puck in a skilled way and pulls it around the defender and drops it through the defender's legs for Grace to shoot. Ice skating was so difficult to animate. Anything contacting the ground is always a really big deal. So in those hockey shots, the challenging parts were Riley's skates are touching the ground, the opponent's skates are touching the ground, Riley's stick is touching the ground, the puck's not sliding perfectly horizontally, it's got a little bit of imperfection in the ice that it's skipping across. Also time warps, the shot plays in real speed and then slows down, and then real speed and slows down, which is all done by hand. That's not like an edit trick we did where we slowed down the footage, that's all hand animated. Animating something in slow motion, I remember it was like a big aha moment when I added on Riley's hockey blade after she passes it. In the slow motion, the blade has some warble to it, because I found some slow motion footage of a hockey player, and the blades have so much flexibility, and after you shoot, they're bouncing back and forth, and it just added this little kind of real texture to it. But technically speaking, it's just one of the hardest sequences I've ever done. It's unlike anything I've ever animated before, so it was just uncharted territory to figure all that stuff out. I made it way harder for myself, adding in slow motion warps and extending the shot by like 100 frames, but it seemed to be really effective, and I'm really proud of how it feels right for the moment. And we introduced Riley as this talented, skilled player and also selfless, and hopefully it's enjoyable to watch in the movie. I don't know, you tell me.